All right, what's good, fam? I'm back. I'm back here today to give you guys my official picks and predictions for UFC Fight Night Israel Adesanya versus Joey Body Cam Off Pyfer. And that was not my nickname for him. That was, I think, the public's public's nickname for Joey Pyfer. But hey, man, this dude says he's found religion and that he's a changed man. I want to believe it just because, you know, he has been kind of a douchebag, I want to say, in the past. But hey, man, all that aside, you know, he has given us some exciting fights. I think this one is definitely going to be super exciting. I'm super hyped up to watch these two guys step in there and go for it. But yeah, we got some pretty solid matchups on this one. I will say the matchmaking has been kind of bad these past fight cards, man. Who in their right mind decided to put MVP and Sam Patterson together? Like, that is exactly what you're gonna get when you have two guys that, you know, were former training partners that have spent so much time sparring. Obviously, they know each other. They're not just going to go in there and fucking put themselves in the line of fire just to get knocked out or rocked. Like, they both were trying to have the other one engage, and no one engaged at the end of the day. You got a fucking snooze fest. And there's been some other questionable matchups, but for the most part, it's just been mainly decisions through most of these fight cards. And hopefully, you know, UFC Seattle delivers. You know, I do believe this fight should have been on the White House card. You know, this would have been better than maybe like 2 or 3 that are on the main card. But, you know, I'm not here to say I don't know what Paramount's doing or what influence they have, but hopefully this is a good one. You know, we got these two. We got Alexia Grasso. We got Ignacio Bahamondes. We got Terrance McKinney. We got Chase Hooper. We got Ricky Simone. We got some pretty solid fighters on this one. You know, some that the MMA casuals have heard of. We got some new names in there, but yeah, hopefully this one delivers. But with all that being said, let's dive in. Let's dive into the fights. We got the first fight on the card. We got Alexia Thainara versus Bruna, Brazil. Hey, man. This one's pretty straightforward, cut and dry. Alexia Thainara should win this one. This girl has been the better fighter. I believe she is on a 5-fight win streak or something like that. But I know she's won her last 5. That's all I know. Where Bruna, Brazil, I feel like this girl's just gotten worse over time. And I don't know how that is happening, because I feel like this girl at one point in her career like kind of had promise. Like, she wasn't like, oh, next champ or whatever, but it was like, all right, you know, this girl's solid. But nah, Alexia Thainara should go in there. She could finish her, but this girl is a little bit showboaty. You know, she likes to play with her food, and I think that might end up leading her to possibly win a decision. It should probably have Bruna in some danger. And I know Bruno won the first one, but that wasn't even in the UFC. And I don't know how many years ago that was, but Alexia Thainara should win this one, and the odds reflect it. Then we got Ricky Simone versus Adrian Yanez. This one I was a little bit back and forth on, but I really just cemented myself on picking Ricky Simone here. You know, I don't like betting or picking the guy that's fighting at home. And Ricky Simone is fighting in Seattle. He did good on his last outing, which is why I wasn't too concerned. But I remember watching Joey Diaz on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was like, I always fade the home guys, because literally 1-2 days before the fights, they got everyone in their hometown blowing up their phone that, oh, I want tickets, I want this and that. And I think Derek Lewis said some shit like that. He's like, I don't like fighting in Houston, bro, because I gotta fucking buy these people tickets, do this and that and whatever. But, you know, it is a lot of headache and a lot of drama. And at the end of the day, you just want to go in there and fight. You know, you want to just be laser focused and locked in. But he did good. And I do like Ricky Simone. You know, he has been improving. And I think he is the more well-rounded fighter of the two. I think Adrian Yanez is the better striker. But Adrian Yanez, he hasn't really fought recently, and I think that's gonna play a factor because I want to say his last fight was a year and 3 months ago. So there's definitely going to be some ring rust in there. I can see Ricky Simone going in there, exchanging, maybe losing a little bit on the feet, but then mixing in the takedowns, accumulating some control time and ultimately getting a decision win here. So I'm going to go with Ricky Simone. I'm going to trust him. He has been the more active guy. And even though he's coming off a loss, he lost to Raoni Barcelos, which, hey, man, no shame there because there's been a lot of guys that have lost to Barcelos recently. And Barcelos is on a fucking like 4-5 win streak himself. So, but before that, he beat Cameron Smotherman. He beat one of the Basharat brothers. And he lost to Vinicius Oliveira and Mario Bautista. Like, he literally lost to Mario Bautista, who beat Vinicius Oliveira and is like a top contender. Vinicius Oliveira, who's, nasty striker, carries power, and one of those guys that, the UFC's kind of been trying to push. And then Raoni Barcelos, who just fucking had a complete resurgence. So, I have faith in Ricky Simone. I don't think Adrian Yanez is at that level of like a Mario Bautista. I don't know about a Vinicius Oliveira. Maybe if he's more active, but I just know he's been out long, and I don't have too much faith in him, so I'm gonna go with Ricky Simone here. Then we got Navajo Stirling versus Bruno Lopes. I'm gonna take Navajo Stirling. This one's pretty simple too. Navajo Stirling, trains with the former champ. I was gonna say the champ, but yeah, damn, man, is he ain't that guy anymore? But he's still my guy. But Navajo Stirling, I think this guy might have his breakout fight here. They're setting him up to possibly get a knockout win. But Bruno Lopes isn't really the most like technical guy, and he tries, but this dude would probably have more luck if he just went in here and tried to brawl with Navajo Stirling. But I think Navajo Stirling is just going to stay from the outside, piece him up. I'm hoping, he gets a knockout and kind of just cements himself as like a name in the light heavyweight division because he's just been having a fucking bunch of decisions since he's gotten into the UFC. I don't know if it's because he doesn't carry power in his hands, but, at light heavyweight he should. And he did beat Rodolfo Bellato his last fight by decision. And then, Ivan by decision, Tuco Tocos by decision, and then won by KO in his Contender Series fight. So ever since he's been in the UFC, it's like all decision. So I'm hoping that changes here. He definitely should win this fight. I just don't know if it'll be by KO or by decision. Bruno Lopes, on the other hand, this dude is kind of a jobber, and they're kind of setting up Stirling here to maybe get a finish. But I'm gonna go with Navajo Stirling there. And then we got Casey O'Neill versus Gabriella Fernandes. This one was a little tough too, just because I know Casey O'Neill has also been out for a while. And I was back and forth here, but I think I'm going to go with the Gabriella Fernandes side. And her last fight, Casey O'Neill's last fight was a year and 7 months ago. So who knows how this girl's going to look in there, because ring rust is a real thing. And I think once it goes like past the year that you haven't fought, I think it starts kicking in. And especially over a year and 6 months, that shit has definitely kicked in. And Gabriella Fernandes does carry more power than Casey O'Neill. You can even see from their pictures here on the UFC page, like Gabriella Fernandes is built. She's built. She's Aki, man. Where Casey O'Neill is a little bit more slimmer. Definitely the cuter of the two girls. But I'm gonna just take Gabriella Fernandes here to get it done. I think she'll probably get it done on the scorecards. She'll probably land some bigger shots. Maybe take her down, but ultimately I think she's gonna be able to do a little bit more. Like her punches are just gonna seem to land harder on the judges or inflict more damage. And I think appearances wise, Gabriella Fernandes should win this one. So give me Gabriella Fernandes to get it done over Casey O'Neill. But this is going to be a close fight, and the odds reflect it. But I'm just slightly leaning to the Gabriella side. Then we got Marcin Tybura versus Tyrell Fortune. Fortune. This one I was also back and forth on, man. And I was pretty high on Tyrell because I had been watching, other videos and listening to other takes on this one. And a lot of people are high on Tyrell. And I was like, okay, I could see it, New guy coming in against a guy like Marcin Tybura, who at this point, I don't know, man. He's kind of at the end of his career. But I go back and I watch some tape on Tyrell Fortune, and I look at some fights. I'm like, okay, he has a pretty good record. I go back and I see the fights. Literally, the fights that have come up are the ones he lost, and he lost pretty badly in two of them. I remember him just getting manhandled on the ground by a guy that seemed a little bit lighter than him, but I think the other guy just had better control, better jiu-jitsu, and was able to ultimately get a win over Tyrell. And I see this guy get fucking flatlined by a guy who had like 10 pounds on him, but not in a good way. He definitely had some fat, it definitely wasn't in the best shape, outside not even top 15, like top 50 UFC heavyweights. And I don't even know if there's that many in the UFC, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, he had that Tai Tuivasa build to him. But yeah, I just say Tyrell get fucking knocked out, and then I get to see him controlled on the ground, and I'm just like, how the fuck are these people like so confident on him? But I think it's more just Marcin Tybura just not being the guy. He's not him anymore, man. And especially at 40 years old, he's coming off a KO loss to Ante Deliha. It's not a good look, but I think he could come out here with a good game plan, try to wear down Tyrell. I think Tyrell might get tired. I've seen him get tired in his previous fights, and Marcin Tybura is like a vet in the UFC heavyweight division. So it's tough. I am ultimately going to lean Marcin Tybura because I don't trust these fucking Bellator guys anymore, man. I've bet, I've picked, and I'm just done with them. And I know Tyrell might be a different case. He's definitely more well-rounded. I forgot what team he trains at, but he trains with a pretty solid team. And I think it is... I don't know if it's Black Zillions Performance Institute, but that's what I have down. However, I think he's gotten good looks with... I think it's Waldo Cortez Acosta. That's right. But anyways... It is his debut. I'm a little hesitant based off the tape I've seen. I think Marcin Tybura can implement a good game plan. And in the weigh-ins, he didn't look too fat. When he comes a little bit too overweight, that's when you got to worry. Be like, all right, man, this dude definitely didn't take this seriously. But he didn't look that bad on the scale. And I think that UFC experience is going to ultimately get him a win here. It's just tough to say whether it's by decision or... he could possibly get a sub. A snub might be a cheeky bet, but give me Marcin Tybura to get it done over Tyrell Fortune. Then we got Chase Hooper versus Lance Gibson Jr. I'm taking Chase Hooper here, man. I think Chase Hooper still has a lot to work on in the striking, but his jiu-jitsu is A1, man. He's got great jiu-jitsu. If Lance Gibson tries to grapple with this guy at any point in the fight, if he shoots a takedown, go to your bets and fucking spam the cash out button because it's done. Like, game over. Chase Hooper, if this fight hits the ground at any point and Lance Gibson isn't just trying to fucking scramble back up to his feet and is trying to initiate the grappling or try to work from the ground against a guy like Chase Hooper, it's over. Might as well just get him a new coach, new everything, because that'd be the worst possible scenario and strategic game plan for this fight. Lance Gibson, he did fight Bobby Green on short notice, and although it was a split, Bobby Green clearly won that fight. He does have better hands, but I think Chase Hooper is just gonna be able to initiate the grappling, get some takedowns, and ultimately get a submission. I'm going with Chase Hooper by submission here, and if not, I think he'll probably do good on. He'll keep his own on the feet. I think he'll just mix in the takedowns if he doesn't get a submission. Like Lance Gibson stays safe, he'll just rack up control time and ultimately just also land some good punches. I just don't see how Lance Gibson can win here aside from like knocking out Chase Hooper, but he doesn't even have power in his hands like that. So give me Chase Hooper here. Then we got Ignacio Bahamondes versus Tofiq Musayev. Give me Ignacio Bahamondes to get it done. I'm kind of leaning the submission. Ignacio Bahamondes by submission. Tofiq Musayev has been like submitted like 4 times. I forgot in his how many last of his fights, but Ignacio Bahamondes is a tough fight for this dude. I know he was scheduled to fight someone else, like a jobber or someone they were just bringing in to kind of set this guy up a little bit, but hey man, Ignacio Bahamondes, this kid is legit. He's good everywhere, good on the feet, good takedown defense, good grappling, and overall just a good fighter. And I think he also fights at a high level camp. He trains out of the gym with Bilal Muhammad, and I know people hate on Bilal Muhammad, but hey, those guys know what they're doing. So I'm gonna take Ignacio Bahamondes here, and on the other side, Tofiq Musayev. I just think he's past his prime, man. If this dude maybe was in his prime, I probably would think about this one a little bit more. But Tofiq Musayev is 36. I think his best days are behind him. I believe he was also a Bellator fighter, so we're fading Bellator fighters until further notice. So give me Ignacio Bahamondes to get this one done, and I take that back. Actually, I think he was in Bellator, but most recently he was Risen. He was fighting in that organization, but regardless, it doesn't even matter. I just think Ignacio is the better fighter here and should get it done, whether it's by submission. He could KO him or even go to the distance, honestly. So Ignacio Bahamondes by, I want to say any way he wants to here, but should be pretty. One of the fewer locks on this card is for sure Ignacio. All right, and then we got Terrance McKinney versus Kyle Nelson to kick off the main card. Yeah, this one is fucking fireworks, but I'm a lean the side of Terrance McKinney, but I say that with the lowest level of confidence just because Terrance McKinney, I think, is just a better fighter. This dude has good jiu-jitsu, good grappling, good striking. He's athletic. Like, dude has everything, but his fight IQ is just horrendous. And I don't know if at the gym he's just training for like one round and they're like, okay, just train one round because that's how long your fights are going to last. And I don't know what kind of, cardio or conditioning training they're doing, but Terrance McKinney is like literally just a round fighter, and then after that you can pretty much live bet the other guy. But I think Terrance McKinney, I know there was something said about him in the press conference that he's ready for 3 rounds for 15 minutes with this guy. That's bullshit. I think Terrance McKinney comes out there wild, and I think ultimately he lands something. I'm just hoping he doesn't fucking gas himself before he knocks this dude out or submits him, because that is going to be that's the worst thing. If you have any Terrance McKinney slips or any money on this guy and you just see him like fucking beating this dude up, but for some reason either the fucking Kyle Nelson just survives, or the fucking ref doesn't stop it for any reason, like, they got money on this fight going over 1.5, you're fucked if you got Terrance McKinney. But I think he should be able to get it done. I don't know if he'll get it done in the first round. Maybe he's actually true to his word and is going to try to feel this guy out and maybe end up getting him out in the second round. So I think Terrance McKinney should get it done. But hey, this is like anything can happen in this fight, man. So moving up the card, we got Mansur Abdul-Malik versus Yousri Belgaroui. So I am fucking torn between these two guys, man. I was on the Yousri side in the beginning, like over everything. I was like, oh, yo, Yousri, this dude trains with Alex Pereira. And I was literally just basing it off that. I was like, this dude trains with Alex Pereira. He's at Teixeira's gym. Done. Easy pick. But then I just went and did see some tape and did look into Mansur Abdul-Malik. I just think Mansur has been given some layups. And if he had fought the better level of competition, I would have picked him here as he is the favorite. But I'm just not sold on Mansur Abdul-Malik. And I think that for your debut against a guy like Azamat Bakoyev and doing so well like Yousri did, I think this dude does have promise, man. And he's getting good rounds in with Alex Pereira, you know, the champ, and maybe the champ soon. But hey, man, I think he gets good licks from Alex. I don't know how his wrestling is, though, because, you know, Alex is definitely not a grappler. But, hey, man, Glover is there, too. So I'm hoping, you know, this guy goes in there, probably stuffs takedowns because Mansur Abdul-Malik is going to look to mix it in. Shoot for takedowns, try to get this fight down to the ground and control Yousri, just because on the feet, I do think Yousri has an edge. But I don't know, man. I was on Yousri, then I switched over to Mansur just because I was like, this dude's more athletic, he's more well-rounded, and he might go in there and just surprise everyone because I know Yousri is basically the public dog of this card. But I'm gonna go with Yousri. I'm gonna go back to my initial thoughts and basically taking all the information I've gathered and being kind of split between the two. I'm going to just go with my gut here and go with Yousri to get this one done over Mansur Abdul-Malik. And then we got Julian Erosa versus Lerryan Douglas. Supposedly people are saying this guy is the fucking Brazilian Ilia Topuria just because of his KO in the Contender Series, but I am going to go with Lerryan Douglas here. I think Julian Erosa is just washed at this point. And, hey, man, he could squeak out a finish or a decision win, but I think that is highly unlikely. I know there's some people that say he's a live dog, but this dude, Lerryan Douglas, has fucking power in his hands, man. And I know in his last 5, he won his last 5. You know, he's coming off a KO win, but before that, he won by KO in the LFA. Another KO in LFA. Another KO. This dude is on a fucking 5-fight KO streak. What in God's name is this dude fucking eating or training? But damn, man, at fucking 145 too. That's pretty impressive, man. To be fucking knocking out people like that. This dude actually might be the Ilia Topuria of this division. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Lerryan Douglas and probably by KO now that that I looked a little bit closer into it. I kind of was I'm pretty high on this kid too. I think as long as he stays patient and doesn't look too closely for that shot, I think it's just gonna come. The shot is gonna come. He's gonna go out there, mix it up on the feet with Erosa, and just when that shit lands, I think Erosa's gonna feel it. And Erosa definitely at fucking 36 years old now. I don't see how he gets it done in this fight. He did lose against Melky Zelkosa, even though it was a close, and it took him to decision. Melky has been looking fucking on fire recently, but he took him to decision. And then before that, he had 3-fight win streak. He beat Derek Elkins. Oh, sorry about that. He beat Darren Elkins, he beat Christian Rodriguez, and he beat Ricardo Ramos. However, I think Lerryan Douglas is on another level than those guys, and ultimately why I'm taking him in this one. And then we got Michael Chiesa versus Nico Price on the main card as the featured fight of the night. Man, what fucking blackmail does Michael Chiesa have on Dana White or Hunter, man? This dude is getting literally layups towards the end of his career. He's going in here against a guy in Nico Price, who also is out, 1 foot out the door, and ultimately is coming off a fucking KO loss to himself against that Yeah, the Nikolai Veretennikov, Ukrainian fighter. But man, this dude's gotten some favorable matchups, and I get that, you know, Michael Chiesa's from Seattle, but I didn't know the UFC just want to have Michael Chiesa go out like this, like go out like a fucking stud. And if he should retire here though, because if Michael Chiesa wins this and keeps going, I think the UFC is gonna be like, dude, we gave you your fucking storytell ending, and you're gonna fucking want to keep fighting. Just go sit at the desk. And if he doesn't, I think that's when they'll probably lay him up to a guy like Joaquin Buckley or one of those more like elite welterweights, just to have, you know, Chiesa as a name under your resume if they're coming off a loss. You know, if like Joaquin, I don't know who he's fighting, but if he loses or anyone else outside of the top 5, like, you know, maybe top 9, 10 in the welterweight division, and they just need a fucking layup, you know? No, sorry, not a layup like this. If they need a layup, you know, to set him up, they give him Michael Chiesa. But man, this dude should fucking ride out into the sunset once he knocks out or submits Nico Price. He could also win the decision, but Michael Chiesa is my pick here. It should be fucking as clear, you know, as like night and day. I want to find a fucking better analogy, but this one's clear. And Nico Price, you know, people forget. No, people don't forget anything. This dude is fucking on a 3-fight losing streak. And there are some fucking people out there saying that he's a live dog. That is fucking bullshit. You know, he lost by decision to Tembo Grimbo. Then he got fucking submitted by Jacoby Smith, who's a fucking dog. That dude is fucking good. So, hey, no shame there. And then fucking got knocked out by Nikolai Veretennikov, who's been, you know, 50-50. I don't even know where to put him. Is he bad? Is he good? I don't know. But this dude has been on the fucking cycle parlay loss. Oh shit, he lost by decision. He lost by submission, and he lost by KO, man. Oh fuck. Fucking cycle parlay. I should have done that on Nico Price, you know? But yeah, I think I'm talking too much about this one. This one should have been like a 5-second pick. But then we got the co-main event. We got Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber. I'm going to go with my girl, Alexa Grasso. I think Alexa Grasso gets it done. I know the UFC might be pushing Macy Barber here, so if it is a close decision, she might get the nod. But Alexa Grasso just fought the better level of competition. You know, she's fought Valentina Shevchenko and 3 times. Sorry, she fought Valentina thrice. I believe that's the way you say it. And then after that, you know, fought Natalia Silva, who personally I've said before, I think that girl's a future champ, and she might be champ by the end of this year. But yeah, fucking high level ass competition. Imagine fighting Valentina Shevchenko 3 times. How much fucking knowledge you're gonna take out of fighting her 3 times, and the fact that you beat her once, you drawed with her the second time, and then you lost the last time. Yeah, that is some fucking knowledge is power, my friends. Knowledge is power. And then losing to Natalia Silva, who's just a beast. Like, I think that'd be an interesting fight, like Natalia Silva versus Valentina Shevchenko. I think Valentina, though, would have to use her wrestling and grappling, and Valentina is at the end of her career, but, you know, prime Valentina smokes Natalia Silva, just probably gets her down and submits her. But on the feet, I think it's going to be very competitive. And especially at this point in Valentina's career, she's a little bit slower. If she had that same speed in her prime, yeah, she beats Natalia Silva. But Natalia Silva is going to be the faster girl, the quicker. She just doesn't carry that much power in her shots. But, hey, man, that is for another time. We're here talking about Alexa Grasso and Macy Barber. On the other side, Macy Barber, she is on the fight win streak. You know, these girls have fought, and Alexa Grasso did beat Macy Barber in their first outing. But, you know, Macy's coming off, you know, a couple decisions. She beat Karine Silva. Before that, Caitlin. And then before that, Amanda Ribas, who she knocked out, which is a pretty good win. Then before that, beat Andrea Lee by split decision, and then beat Jessica I by decision. So, like I said, the level of competition is night and day. Alexia Grasso has fought literally the best girls in this division, or two of the best girls, because, you know, Valentina fought 3 times. And then Maycee Barber has been fucking fighting jobbers or people that, you know, the UFC's trying to promote this girl and get her up in the rankings to ultimately fight for a belt. I don't know if it's because, you know, she's kind of cute and she got the boob job and, you know, they want a pretty face there. But, and no disrespect, I think Maycee Barber is a good fighter, but I think just there's a skill gap. And I went back and I saw their first fight, and it was very clear. Maycee Barber was a little bit too much on the outside, and she was just trying to throw feints, and it just didn't really work. Like, she was too outside to, when she did try those feints and like then try to go in and strike, like Alexia Grasso would get there before her. And I think it was just a horrible game plan, and Alexia Grasso, I think, is the better striker of the two. You know, she fights out of a good camp. She has good training partners. I know Diego Lopes is always on her corner. So, and on the ground, I don't think Maycee Barber is going to be able to impose, because she was bigger in that fight. And I will say that Maycee Barber was the bigger of the two girls, but even then, Alexia Grasso held her own in the clinch, you know, reverse position, didn't let Maycee Barber take her down, and there was no control time. So I think Alexia Grasso can go out and do the same thing she did in the first fight and win the decision here. So give me Alexia Grasso. I just think she's the better of the two right now. And I know that, you know, Alexia Grasso's been there, had the belt, fought for the belt, lost the belt, but I just don't see Maycee Barber being that girl. You know, I like Alexia Grasso. People say she's on the decline because she lost her last 2, but I think she bounces back here. And then we got Israel Adesanya versus Joey Body Bags Pyfer. I know in the beginning I said Body Cam off, but his nickname is Body Bags, and you know, I'm not a huge fan of Joey Pyfer just because the shit he has said online or in public or whatever in the past. But I think if he's really changed, and I did watch that press conference of him, you know, more power to him, respect, and yeah, hopefully it's not, you know, stunt or anything. It's for real. And if more of that, you know, respect to him, and you know, all the best. But when we're talking about this fight, I was a little bit back and forth. I was originally leaning Joey Pyfer here, just because Adesanya, man, it sucks to say, but he's not in his prime anymore. He's not the champ. He's not, you know, when he was at his height and everyone was like, oh, Adesanya's like in talks to being one of the greatest of all time, and then probably the greatest middleweight fighter the UFC has ever seen. And you know, there was just so much praise, so much love for Izzy, and active champ, and all of this going on for him. And you know, that was a remarkable run that he had, and we love an active champ. But 3-fight losing streak here. The only thing that I went back and that, you know, consoled me was that he has lost to reputable guys, champs, and guys that are fucking good. So I was like, all right, you know, it isn't a fluke. You know, he lost to Sean Strickland, who's fucking just beat the brakes off of Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, who everyone was like, oh, this dude's gonna give Khamzat Chimaev problems. And then, you know, he lost to Nasruddin Imavov, who's right there for a title shot, and then lost to DDP, who was a former champ. So I was just, in my head, I was like, Joey Pyfer, this dude has power in his hands. He's quick. He can go to the wrestling or grappling if he wants to and take down Izzy. And there's just so many factors that I was just like, fuck, man. Like, and the other factor was that Joey Pyfer, he's probably training, like, this is a fucking, for the belt, man. You're fighting a legend in Israel Adesanya, and this is going to ultimately set you up to be one of those top guys in the division if you get a win here. So he's probably going out there and being like, man, this is like closest thing to fighting for the belt. And if he gets a win that, he puts his name in possibly, maybe not title contention right now, but he's like one or two, probably one fight or two away from fighting for the belt. So I just saw him having a completely different mindset than what Adesanya might be thinking going into this one. Adesanya might be like, man, this is, it's probably maybe my last fight, maybe not my last fight, maybe my last fight. This is just another fight. I gotta, dust off what is it? The spider webs or whatever off the gloves. And, he has been off a year off. And I think that's actually been good for him just because of the 3 losses. Like, this dude said he went back, he had to redefine himself and work on a few things. But all that being said, I was on Joey Pyfer because of all those reasons. But then I go back and I'm like, man, Izzy, the 3 fights he lost, all guys I think that would be Joey Pyfer. Okay, that's first. If Israel Adesanya is still able to have some of that speed, he doesn't have to have his fucking prime speed, but he knows what Joey Pyfer is going to do, and he's going to look for that fucking right hand. And if he's able to avoid that, he should easily just fucking outpoint Joey Pyfer from the outside, piece him up. And I think he has pretty good takedown defense. This guy hasn't been able to been taken down like that easily. I did go watch Joey Pyfer against Abus Magomedov, and Magomedov's not even a fucking grappler, man. That dude's a pure striker, and he was able to reverse certain positions on Joey Pyfer. Pyfer was able to get him out of there by head and arm choke, and I do think that is one of Pyfer's likely avenues to victory here is by submission, but I think I'm gonna go with Adesanya here. I'm gonna ride with my guy here. I'm gonna go with Adesanya. I roll with my boy Charles Oliveira, and we all know how that turned out. Many people were on Max, and people were saying, "Oh, that's gonna be an easy win for Max." So I don't see this being an easy win for Adesanya, but he can make it easy if he doesn't get hurt, especially in the first few rounds of this fight. Because I think once it passes the second, third round, I think Adesanya is just probably going to get in that flow state and just fucking go into the matrix and just, I don't know if he'll get Joey Pyfer out of there, but he'll definitely land some damage and maybe get a KO, maybe a late KO, but if not, ultimately a decision win here for Adesanya. I just, I pray, man, this dude doesn't fucking get knocked out in the first round or second round. Because, if he gets knocked out in the first round, I think that's it. I think Izzy should hang up the gloves. This dude's made a lot of money in the UFC. He's got name. Trust me, you're not gonna, what's the word for it? You're not gonna get ghosted, or you're not gonna disappear off the map like many UFC fighters do after they retire. So that is worst case scenario. I think Adesanya, I did see him in the press conference. He was very confident in himself. He still has love for the game. It's not like he's I don't think he's ever done this for like a paycheck, maybe back to the start of his career, but right now I think he's just trying to express himself, and that's what he said, his words, express himself out there, show a few new things, and maybe that's what he'll do in this one. But I think if Izzy, if there's any semblance or resemblance, I don't know if the word, if there's any of prime Izzy that comes out during this fight, I think that would be enough to get it done over Joey Pyfer. So give me Israel Adesanya to get it done. So to recap my picks, I'm going to go with Alexia Thainara to kick off the fight card. Now I'm going to go with Ricky Simón over Adrian Yanez. Give me Navajo Stirling to get it done over Bruno Lopes. Gabriella Fernandes over Casey O'Neill. Marcin Tybura over Tyrell. I'm going to go with Chase Hooper, Ignacio Bahamondes, Terrance McKinney. I'm going to go with Yousri Belgaroui. I'm going to go with Lerryan Douglas, Michael Chiesa, Alexa Grasso, and Israel Adesanya to get it done in the main event. those are my picks. Hope you guys like this video. And I hope you guys get to watch it before these fights kick off on Saturday. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. Hope this is a great main card. Hope this is a banger of a card overall. And yeah, stay tuned for the next one. Love you guys.